But anyway, who defines this reality for us? Who tells us what's real and what isn't? And I submit to you today that it's the same media that began to be controlled after Vietnam. They define our reality, and they tell us something like this. They tell us that the federal government is the country, and it's a good thing. Its benefits far outweigh its costs to us. It's our friend. Number two, they tell us war is good, and it's necessary. And perpetual war is something that we should just get used to. It's just the way it is now. Besides, it doesn't hurt us. I mean, these people are all volunteers. I mean, the president, the commander-in-chief himself said, hey, they're all volunteers. He wanted them to even pay their own health care personally. When they come back with traumatic brain injuries or missing legs, they should pay their own health care privately, he said. Perpetual war is okay. It's actually good. And those are two things that this mindset tells us. The other thing it tells us is the Taliban are really bad. They're really bad people. And we know that. We can see that ourselves. They treat their women really badly. They have to wear burqas. They have to walk behind the men. They can hit them with sticks, but only of a certain size. They are, at best, second-class citizens, if not lower. They have no rights. They're essentially chattel property, we're told. This is the image that we see of these Taliban. And this culture should be changed to be like we are. This is why I propose to you today that this is a war against Islam. Because what we've heard from so many speakers this weekend, Christianity has already been destroyed. We fight peasant armies now because everyone else is already lost. We don't have to fight modern armies. We're all in this together sort of thing. We all fight peasants, people who essentially have no more technology than what they can carry around in their own hands, but they seem to be pretty good at using it. So in that sense, Islam is a bulwark of belief in God. They don't see it like most of us do, but this belief in God must be destroyed. God must be destroyed. This is my theory anyway. And so the Taliban are bad people, we're told. They mistreat their women. But let's look at what we do in the West for a minute to our women. What is the model to which our Western women are to aspire? You know, if you look at the TV show Sex and the City, the movie by the same name, the aspiration that's presented to us is something like this. You have these four beautiful women who wander around through this urban wasteland called New York City, you know, in the neon night, looking for somebody to have sexual intercourse with. And when they find that person, then they're finished. They get up and continue their search. And they wander continuously, having no families, no souls. They love nobody. Nobody loves them. But this is the inspiration for the American woman today, which is worse. At the same time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the vilest filth imaginable pours out into our living rooms and our bedrooms, telling us once again that women are simply objects of sexual desire. Their jobs, just outcroppings of their own sexuality. This is the image that's presented to us every single day, 24/7, every time you turn on the television or go to a movie. And so, which is worse? I'll leave that one up to you. But there are some things that we can take from this as real. Number one, terrorism is not defeated by what we do. It's actually enhanced because when we kill people, we make enemies. Every person that we kill, every country that we invade creates more terrorists. Ron Paul has been very eloquent at setting this out and explaining it. Number two, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. You know, what is the difference between a terrorist and a freedom fighter? A terrorist is someone perhaps, who doesn't share the goals of the United States government. But a freedom fighter does share those goals. So the difference is in the government's view of this person, their attitude toward this person. This is a reality. Another reality, war is indiscriminate. It hurts everybody. There is an old Civil War ditty that goes something like this. I told you I wouldn't sing, but I'll just say the words. The cannonball don't pay no mind. Who's taken and who's left behind? War kills everybody. It doesn't know who the enemy is. Now, I'll tell you one other thing. War is a perversion and a debauchery. And when we send our children to it, which we should only do in the most dire circumstances of literally life or death for the nation and our way of life. When I say it's a perversion and a debauchery, it plunges people into debauchery. If you go back many years, let me start over in Vietnam and tell you that the U.S. military, when they come into these countries in Vietnam, we converted that nation into a nation of prostitutes. Prostitutes of their women, soldiers of their men. These Middle Easterners, Muslims, I've never been there, but I suspect that they don't see things the same way. This is not part of the Muslim culture. Perhaps that's why there have been so many problems there in so many different ways. But if you think about war over the last century, you know, the soldier creates names for his enemy, as in World War I, there were Huns. In World War II, there were Krauts or Japs. In Korea, in Vietnam, there were Gooks. And whatever the vernacular of the troops is today for these Muslims that we fight. And so we do that, obviously, to dehumanize them, to say that they're less than us, they're less important than us, and to keep from coming to grips with all those faces out there that we've seen, to keep them from being real to us. They're not real people, they're just gooks. But what we find, what these soldiers find sometimes, many years later when the guns are silent, except in their heads, they find that those names are quite real indeed, those faces. So war, you should not send your children to do this, except under the most dire circumstances. I mean, you may be a person who believes very strongly in self-defense. If someone breaks into your house and threatens your family, you might respond to that person with armed force. That's far different than taking your gun and going around the neighborhood randomly killing people. Those people are called murderers. And so this is where we are today. Where do we leave this? What can we do about this? Because being the last speaker, I'm not supposed to leave you in total despair. But what can we do about it? Well, not very much, to be honest about it. To be perfectly truthful about it, that's where we are.